everyone, it's Julia. This happened to one of my favorite pair of pants. I must have spilled bleach on them, but cleaning or something. Anyway, I thought I'd take you along with me today while I do a fun design on this or try to embellish them somehow. They also are a long pant, and I thought I would be fun just to cuff them and also add a little something to the cuff. So let's get started. I went through my fabrics and some of my trims, and I picked out this batik, and I love how it has these sunbursts on it, and then a couple coordinating prints with it. I thought I would try to do just like a patchwork design, and then maybe perhaps just cutting out one of these sunbursts and putting that on. Also doing the same type of patchwork down here, maybe just like a little design, or maybe even one of a little sun down here. And I thought I would add, I have a bunch of this vintage trim, possibly adding that to the top of this cuff, and then actually sewing this cuff into place so that it's one length, and so it doesn't come down once it's washed. Another thing that I was thinking about around at the top, these are faux pockets. They're fake. You can see that they have like a little piece right in here. I thought I would put a piece of fabric right in there, and then possibly either stitching by hand, some kind of a stitch, or with my machine right on this seam here. And I found this is really old. I've had it, I don't even know. The packaging even looks really old, but it's a little bit heavier thread, similar to floss, maybe an embroidery thread. So I thought I would use one of those colors maybe to decorate this. I'm using my Heat and Bond Lite, and I just drew out a couple different shapes, just ironing a little bit of that on the back of one of these sunbursts, and this is going to turn this sunburst into an applique. I'm just ironing the pebbly side down, and then just roughly cutting this out, and then I will fussy cut it out as well, this sun. And now I am working on my patches themselves. When I do this, I like to leave about 1/4 of an inch all the way around my Heat and Bond. I am going to be making, instead of a raw edge patch, I want to make sure that those edges are turned under. Just these pants are going to be worn and washed a lot, and so I don't want too many raw edges on them. To make these patches, I'm just cutting some of that bulk out of the corners. And then leaving that Heat and Bond on, I am pressing that 1/4 of an inch right onto the paper, just to get a crease and to get it all ironed into place. And then I'll peel back that Heat and Bond Lite and then iron that paper again over the top of my patch. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second here. I'm sure there's other ways of doing this. I just find that this is the easy way for me to do it. And now I'm just ironing that paper right back on, and that's going to really crease and keep those turned over edges into place. And now this is actually an applique itself with an iron-on applique. Now I'm over to my pants, and I'm just going to lay this on here, and covering up that mistake or that bleached area. Yeah, don't use bleach. It's really it's not good for your health, and it's not good for your clothes. I think I was cleaning with bleach, and that's how that happened. I must have leaned up against it or something. So just laying these on and just covering that up. When I do this, I kind of keep in mind what I want to wear these pants with, and I know that I have a lime green tank top. I wear a lot of blue. This is going to be mainly a summer pants, as I am shortening them. Just want to add a little bit of that lace to my design as well as around the bottom. And then just going to iron this into place. And this just keeps it in place until I get to my sewing machine. For this top part, I want to add a little bit of fabric on that faux pocket. This is a piece of just tissue paper that I got from a packaging, and just tracing that inside of that pocket onto this piece of tissue paper, excuse me. And then I'm going to trace this piece onto my Heat and Bond Lite as well. Two of these pieces. I'm doing this same method to both of these pockets. And so you'll see me with my Heat and Bond Lite once again, and then just outlining this and flipping it over because they're mirror images. And you can see my two pieces here. And I am cutting these pretty much right on the line, because I'm going to do the same method with these as I did with my other patches, by leaving a little bit of fabric on all sides and then folding that fabric over on top of my Heat and Bond. I've removed the backing of my Heat and Bond, and now I'm ironing these little patches into place. Just turning those edges if I need to turn them a little bit more, and just poking those corners in. I did the same to the other pocket, and now it's on to the cuffs. Just turn those cuffs back about 4 inches, and just laying some more of those patchy pieces on. And I also cut out another sunburst, and we'll be adding that to one of the legs. I'm at my sewing machine now, and I'm going to be using this Variegated Thread by Sulky. I have my embroidery foot on, or a darner foot, and I removed my throat plate here. I'm going to be using my open arm for this project, and I'm sliding that pants leg over that open arm all the way down, and we'll be just sewing using free motion stitching. So my feed dogs are dropped, and I'm going to be sewing around these patches, catching in that lace, and then doing some outlining of some of these suns on this one patch here, and doing some decorative stitching, just some meander stitching to get these patches not only in place but also add some detail to them. One thing that's so fun when you're doing free motion is you can go sideways, and when you're doing a pants leg like this, it's about the only way to really add a patch, unless you open up the side seam. Now this sun is going to be in raw edged applique, but because it is made from a batik fabric, which is the same on both sides, the same color on both sides, even if it frays a little bit, it's not going to be as noticeable. But just working, getting lots of stitches in there, going back and forth, and getting that applique into place. Getting those corners. This particular green fabric has a stem leaf to it, and so I am just outlining some of that, or just tracing right on some of those lines. And I'm not sewing particularly straight. And if you followed my channel for a while, you know that just doesn't bother me. And that one's down. And now for the cuff, the same way, just going to be doing all sorts of stitching, following some of the designs of some of the fabrics that I'm using here, and just adding a lot of stitches. This pants leg is done, and sliding in the second one and going to be doing the same thing, just going to be doing some stitching around these patches. I changed my foot on my sewing machine to my regular sewing foot and also raised my feed dogs. I'm going to be sewing this lace on. I just have it tucked underneath this rolled up cuff, and I'm going to be sewing right on the original hem of my pants. And just edge stitching this into place all the way around both pants legs. And now for that top part, I again changed my foot. This time I have my zipper foot on, and I have my needle position in the right hand side, and I'm just getting right along the edge of this. I find the zipper foot really works well for this if you need to get into a tight space. So my zipper foot is actually just running right alongside of that pocket edge there. Again, rolling, making sure that all those edges are rolled under, so I have a nice edge on my pants. And I'm going to do the same to my other side. And now I decided to do bobbin work on this. I'm winding this bobbin. This is an empty bobbin with this heavier thread. It's like an embroidery thread. Just rolling it up, and I'm going to be using this in my bobbin, and I'm going to be sewing from the underneath side, and you'll see it. I have no problems doing this in my sewing machine, but I used to have another sewing machine that I just bought an extra bobbin case, and I loosened the screw a little bit on that bobbin case. And so if any of you have done bobbin work, please leave a message down below of whether you've had to do that on your sewing machine, if you've had any problems with it. This is a fun technique that I don't do enough, and I'll link another video that I did a little bit of it on as well if you want to see another one, and just another way to use bobbin work in some of your pieces. But I'm using it the same way. I just have my bobbin, and I've threaded the bobbin the same way. And again, I'm going to be doing this on the inside of my pants, right along this this seam. I'm going to show you what stitch I'm going to use. I'm going to use number 26. It's just X's. And I have my brown thread in. You want to use either the same color thread as your garment, or something that blends in really well, because you do see that somewhat on the front side. And I'm just again following this seam or whatever, this little welt here, and you'll see what it looks like. It's not the exact X's. I mean, you just have to kind of go with it. It's not precise, but it really has a really fun look. You'll see me actually model these. I'm really stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm going to model these pants at the end, so you'll see what they look like. But there it is. There's that. And I also decided I'm going to add a little bit of that same stitch, that same bobbin work on one of these patches. And so I got it's again, I'm working on the inside, so the bobbin is going to be the decorative stitch on the front side. And then just stitching a little bit more on one of these patches. And you can see it there. I just stitched that. And that's what the fronts, or the top of the pocket looks like. And here I am stepping way out of my comfort zone. and you'll see what these actually look like. I'll probably wear these in the summer with a white tee and also white canvas shoes. But it just adds a fun look for, you know, something fun. I hope you enjoyed this, everybody. I hope you have a creative week. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye for now.